Hey guys, hope you're doing good. In this video, we're going to learn how to work with CSV files. Now, working in the sense, we are going to see how to read, write, and parse data from and to the CSV files. Now, what does a CSV means? CSV stands for comma separated values. Now, every value in the fields are separated by comma. Now, here you can see first name is a field name and the last name is the second field, email is the third field. Now every field you can see it is separated by a comma. Now here first name is Samuel and the last name is Edison and email is sam@mail.com. All these values, and you can see that every field is delimited by a comma. By default, all CSV files are delimited by commas. Now let us see how to work with the CSV files with some example. First, let me import the module called the CSV, and let me try to open the file, right, with an already existing file, already existing CSV file, right, with the help of open method. Now open, I'll say info.csv comma r. Now here, instead of opening it and storing it in a file object, let me use the context manager. That's always better to use, because when I use a context manager, it is not required for me to close it, right? So let me say as CSV files, CSV file. Okay. Now here, let me try to read the content from the CSV file. For that, we cannot use a normal read method that we use in file. If at all you are not aware of how to work with files, you can go and watch my video which I've done on files. For that, I've given the link in the description. Please go do and watch and then come back. Right. Now let me say read contents and then say CSV dot reader, and I'm going to read from the file, right? So I'm going to read from the file, and then let me try to print it. I'll say print read content, and let me run this code for you. When I run this code, you can see the objects getting printed, right? Because whatever data I read, it's getting read and stored inside this object read content. Now if I want my value to be printed, all the values to be printed line by line, I may need to use a for loop. Let me say for line in read content, right? Let me give here read contents. So I'm going to read everything from the file and then put it inside the variable called as line iterably, and then let me run this code for you. So you can see your datas, all your datas are getting stored as a list. Now first list, which has three contents, that is the first name, last name, and email. You can see three contents inside the first name, three elements I can say. And then the second list has like my first row of values, Samuel, Edison, and the name, like this, right? So whenever I read the content from the CSV file using the CSV reader, it is getting stored inside an object called as read content, and then from there I'm iterating through it and then storing it inside the line and printing it. Now you can see every data is getting printed. Now here, if everything is getting printed, but like I feel that I don't want my first line to be printed, right? I don't want my first line to be printed. If I don't want my first line to be printed, I can skip it with the help of a method called as next. So when I say next and then say read content, so the first line will get skipped with the help of next, and then other things will get read here and then it will be printed. Let me clear the screen for you. Let me run this code. Now you can see the first line got skipped, that is the header got skipped, only the contents are displayed. Now if I want to display only a particular what a field, right? For example, if I want to print only the first field or second field or third field, yes, it is possible for me to do it. Now let me comment this and then here let me say I'm going to print only the last name of everyone, right? So the last name will be Edison, Silverage, and Edison again here. Let me run this. You can see this data, right? So the last name, it alone got printed. Now if I want my email to be printed, I'll say 2, because this will be 0 as this will be like 1 and this will be 2, right? This is indexing, normal indexing, right? You should be knowing what is indexing. And you got your email alone, right? So like this I can iterate through the object and print whichever field is required for me. I can print that alone, right? Now let us see how to read the content or CSV content from one file and store it inside another CSV file, right? So if that, like, I'm after reading the same thing, I'm not going to change anything, right? After reading, let me say with open, I'll say new info, and then let me say write. I'm going to create a new file. This is a new file, so it will be in write mode, and I'll say as new CSV file, right? New CSV file. Let me read it as like that, and then inside I'm going to say new content, assign CSV dot writer. I'm going to use a method called a CSV writer, so which will help me to write the content whichever I've read into a new file, right? So where I've read the content, I'll say new CSV file, comma, right? If I want to give a new delimiter, right? Usually by default, my delimiter is comma, right? If I want to give a new delimiter, yes, I can do that with the help of the argument called as delimiter, D-E-L-I-M-E-T-E-R, sorry, M-I-T-E-R, assign, and let me change the delimiter. By default, the delimiter will be comma, right? If I want to give a hash, yes, I can do it, right? Now after doing this, I'm going to write, right? Now it's just creating an object, right? Creating a writer object called as new content, and now I'm going to write each and every line to my new CSV file. Let me say CSV, sorry, I forgot to give that. And then here I'll be using a method called as write row, right? I'll be using a method called as write row. Now I'll say write row and then say the line whichever I've read from the old read contents object. I'm going to read all the contents, store it inside my new content object which I've created. Now here with the help of CSV writer method, I'm creating a object called as new content, and then I'm giving the file name, comma, and I'm giving the delimiter, right? I'm setting a new delimiter for it. Now let me run this code. So after running this code, let me check whether so you can see I have new info got created. Let me open this folder for you. Yes. Okay. Now you can see the old content which has first name, last name, email with everything separated by comma, right? And the new file info, you can see everything got separated with the help of hash, right? So I am setting a new delimiter. So with the help of that, I am writing to it. After setting the delimiter, I am writing the new content with the help of write row method. Okay, got it? Fine. Let me try to read the contents from the new info file. Now this is not required for me. Let me take this out. I'll say with open, the new file name is new info.csv, comma, read, because it's an already existing file, so I'm opening it in read mode. Let me see, CSV file, and then I'll say I'm going to say read contents, assign CSV dot reader, and then I'll be mentioning CSV underscore file. So if I'm reading from the file, and let me try to print it with the help of for loop. I'll say line in read content, and then I'll say print line. Now let me run this code. Now you can see all my data are printed, but you can see everything as one single element. previously when we read that, you would have seen a comma like that, you would have seen three different values, but now here it is not three different values, it is just one single value in a list, right? So all the data has to be there in one single list. The reason is, by default, the delimiter is considered to be comma, but here I've changed the delimiter. Since I've changed the delimiter, I may need to give it explicitly while reading it. I'll say delimiter and then assign. What is the delimiter that I've given there is hash. By default it is comma, right? Since it will be searching only for comma, since it don't find any comma here, it will be considering everything as one single value, right? It will not be in three different fields, right? It will be as one single field so I have to give a hash to mention that this is the field delimiter. Now let me run this code for you. You can see that my data are getting separated, right? Before it was not able to read it because it is not having a what the default delimiter, right? Since I changed my delimiter, it is not able to read it as separate fields. Now it is able to do it because I have given the delimiter explicitly, right? Fine. Now let us see how to read and parse this data as dictionary, right? To read and parse this as dictionary, we'll be using a method called as dict reader and dict writer, right? Let me change this to dict reader and then the CSV file. Let me remove, this is not required for me now. And I'll say for line in read content, and then I'll say print line. Now let me run this code for you, and you can see all my data are in the form of dictionary, right? So dictionary, you can see, right? Okay, I'm sorry, since I've read this, right? Let me try to read the older one. Let me try to read the older one. Let me clear the screen for you. Yeah, you can see my data are getting stored as dictionary, and you cannot see any header separately and data separately. Now here the values are stored in the form of key value pairs. Now first name is the key and Samuel is the value, last name is the key and Edison is the value, email is the key and sam@mail.com is the value. Now here my data is whatever is getting parsed, it's getting read, it will be read in the form of key value pairs, and it will be stored inside the object as dictionary, right? Now if I want to read this, yes, I can read it like sorry, if I want to write something to the file which is already existing, that also I can do with the help of dict writer. And if I want to read, I'll be using a method called as dict reader, right? Now if I want to specifically find only one value, right, where there we were using, right, the field name, right? Since we don't have field here, I may need to mention like this, the key value name, right? Key name, right? I'm sorry, key name, right? That's first name, right? When I run this code, you will be getting all the first names, and if I say last, when I run this code, you'll be getting all the last names alone. And if I say email, I'll be getting all my emails. Now this is much easier than your normal reader, because when I read it as a dict, I can use the column name that is my key value pair here, right? I can use the key here directly instead of giving either 2, 1, 3 or 0. If it is a very small data field, right, if you have only 2 or 3 fields, then it is not a problem, right? You can use the the indexing values like 0, 1 or 2. But if it is more, and if you are having a very large value to be parsed, and it's very difficult to use the field number, that is 0, 1 or 2, but it is very easy to give the field name here, right? So with the help of dict reader, I can store my data in the format of dictionary, and I can access it easily, right? That's the reason, like, mostly I will be using this dict reader or dict writer, because I'm comfortable with that. It's purely up to you to decide whether you want to go for a dict reader or dict writer, or directly reader and writer, right? Now if I want to read the content as a dict reader and write it to another file using a dict writer, let me say with open, let me create a new file, let me say new, let me say new info without any space. Before it has space, now you can see that older file has space. Now let me say without space, and then let me say w, that is as write mode, and then I'll say CSV new, and then here I'll say, previously you would have seen that like I'll say new content, and then say assign CSV, I'll say dict writer, right? And then here in the previous examples what we have seen with writer and reader, your field name also comes along with it, right, as the first row of it. But here you don't have any field names because you have only key value pairs. Now for that I need to create a list of values for fields. I'll say fields. What are the fields are here? That is first name, last name, and email. So I need to say first name, comma, last name, comma, email. I have to give this as mandatory. I cannot skip this. If I skip this, I'll be having contents without any header, right? So here I'll say where I'm getting it from, CSV underscore new, comma, let me say field names, assign. What are the field names here? I need to pass the list here, fields. And then if I want to change the delimiter, yes, I can do that with the help of the argument delimiter. And if I don't want to change the delimiter, it's up to you, but let me change the delimiter and tell you how to work with it. The delimiter assign, let me give hash, the same one, right? Now here if I want to write the contents to the file, I'll just say new contents dot write row, and then say line. Now here my data will get stored inside the file. Now let me run this code for you. Oops, I forgot to indent this. Let me indent this. Yeah. Okay. Now you can see your new info file got created. Now what I've created here is new info.csv. It got created and my data is getting stored. And you can see the header is not there, right? Even though I've given here, let me close this so that you can get a clear view. Here I've given the field names, everything, but it is not getting stored in the new file which I've created. Now what should I do for that? For that we may need to, let me clear the screen for you first and then pull this down a little bit. Now here I need to say, before writing the contents to the file, I may need to use the method called as write header to write all the headers separately, right? I don't have to give anything here. I don't have to mention the field names, everything, because it is already given here clearly. But I need to explicitly mention write header. If I don't do this, my header will not get stored inside the file. Now let me run this code again after adding this line. I'm going to run this code. So after running this code, you can see, yeah, you got your header here. Got it? Yes. So this is how you write the header, because if at all I want to write header, I may need to make sure that I am giving write header method to write it explicitly, right? Now here also you can read the contents, right, or write only the particular value, or if I want to remove something and do it, yes, that also possible. For example, if I say that I don't want my second name to be written inside my file, right, I want to read something from this file. I'll just open this. I want to read the first name, last name, and email. Everything is getting read, but I want to store only the first name and the email. I want to remove my last name from this file. Before storing, I want to remove the last name before storing it. I can just say del line of, what is the field name, that is last name. Now what will happen, before writing the content, the last name will be removed, the entire content will be removed, and it will be stored inside the file. Now let me run this code again for you. It's over. Let me see. You can see the last name is removed, but the field name is still there. Even though the values are getting removed, the field name is still there because we have inserted the field name separately here. So let me remove this and run this again. Now you can see first name, email, right? So everything got stored except the last name. Got it? Fine. That's it for this video, guys. If you have any doubts or queries, please comment in the comment section. I'll definitely get back to you. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and do subscribe to my channel for further videos. Thank you very much.